welcome back to my channel. This is me, Catherine, and before I start this long-awaited video that I should have recorded months ago, I'm doing it today. As you can see, I am red because I'm starting this video after a workout. This video is all about motivation and, self-love. So I felt like there was no better way to start it than after a workout. So here I am. It's crazy that the gyms are finally open. This is my first day back at the gym. I do Orange Theory for anyone who is wondering, and I've been doing it since like March, so not very long, and obviously COVID happened, so I think I only went to like a couple classes before it finally got shut down. But you know what? It actually feels great to be back. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely felt like I could have vomited at any moment, but the best part about it is when you get through it and you're like, okay, I can do this again, hopefully sooner rather than later. So I'm currently just looking for, I don't know, either I don't really have any protein powder, and I did order one that I don't have yet. So I think I might just go grab a fruit smoothie or a protein shake from one of those health places. So that's what I'm doing now. And then I'm gonna go home, shower, and then we're gonna get started on this. As you can tell by the title, it's all about my NCLEX experience. It's not really telling you, I'm not gonna tell you exactly what to do, but I feel like when I was studying for the NCLEX, I did go to YouTube like everybody else, and there wasn't really a lot of hey, this may not be the easiest thing. I feel like everything was kind of hey, do UWorld or Kaplan and just keep doing tests and you'll pass in 75 questions. And I was this is not gonna be that hard. School wasn't ever really hard for me, and if I just sat down and studied, it wasn't too bad. So I was all right. But it didn't happen that way, and I feel like after the NCLEX and now I'm 8 months at my current new grad job. So I feel like ever since the NCLEX, there's just also a lot of anxiety and stress, obviously, that comes with it. And I feel like my NCLEX experience was very different, but just like this workout, I got through the NCLEX, and I just kind of want to share my side of the story and what I did, what worked, what didn't work, and what helped with me being anxious all the time and feeling like I don't want to wake up and do questions. You kind of put yourself in a really bad funk that I never thought I'd get out of, but did. And I give myself a lot of credit for where I am today. And if I can help out anybody, I would love to do that. And so enough of this babbling. I'm gonna go grab the smoothie or protein shake, whatever I can find, and then I'll see you guys back when I'm home and showered. All right, guys, so we're back. So I did end up getting that protein shake, and it actually was delicious. So I actually think I might do that until I get the one that I ordered online. So now we're back. It's a couple hours later. I did shower. My hair's still a little damp. I had something to eat, and now we're ready to go. So getting straight into the NCLEX, like I said, when I was studying for the NCLEX, I felt like there wasn't a lot of resources on what to do when NCLEX studying isn't going the way everyone makes it seem like it's gonna go. And like I said, I'm not really here to be hey, you should definitely do this, you should definitely do that. I'm just more here just to be a friend and be hey, I did go through crazy anxiety and panic attacks with the NCLEX, and I did have those feelings I'm never gonna pass. And I really, really never thought that I'd even would have the courage to actually sit down and take the test. I would reschedule it over and over again, and we'll get more into that. But like I said, I'm just more here just to share my experience and hoping to help others who may be feeling this way through a really rough test. And I'm sure even now with the pandemic, it's even harder. But I'm here, for anyone who's going through the same thing. I know it's not easy, but you will get through it, just like I did, and just like how I thought that I couldn't, but I did. So let's get right into this video. So before anything, nursing school is already hard, and I think the first thing everyone should do is just be proud of even getting through nursing school. That is the first big step before even taking the NCLEX, and I feel like we don't give ourselves enough credit for going through all those years of schooling, and even those who went back to school and got a second degree, like school already is rough, and nursing school, it's not easy. I don't think it's meant to be easy. That's why I think first you should really congratulate yourself on even getting to the NCLEX. You know, it's a huge step, and you definitely should give yourself credit for all the hard work you've already done. And the NCLEX is really just one last stride, but nursing school definitely is the bigger bulk of it, so definitely already be proud. I graduated nursing school May of 2019, and like I said in the beginning of this video, I'm like 8 months into my first new grad job in the telemetry unit. So a lot has happened, and like I said, this video is very long overdue, but I wanted to get it out there because I said that I would on my first video. If you haven't seen that, I'll link that down below. It's just kind of like introducing myself into this new channel, this new YouTube journey, and I kind of explain a little bit of what work's been like there. Yeah, so I graduated in May. If you don't know, you have to wait for your ATT code, which is your authorization to test, and I got that around June 17th. So before then, you can't schedule your tests. You can study, but you can't schedule your tests. And I'm not gonna lie, after I graduated May 19th, I didn't study. I, wanted a little bit of a break. I just wanted to be able to not think about school, not think about this test, be with friends, celebrate everything that I had just accomplished. So I did take some time off. When I did get the authorization to test, I scheduled my tests for about a little bit over a month afterwards, and I thought that would be enough, which I'm sure it is enough. So I did that. I did what everyone does. Like I said, I went to YouTube. Everyone said UWorld, and I was like, you know what? All my friends were gonna use UWorld. I was like, what the heck? My school is linked with Kaplan, so we use Kaplan throughout our years of nursing school, but Kaplan to me just wasn't the fit. I know people who love Kaplan, and I'm sure it's a great resource, but for me, it just wasn't cutting it. I liked UWorld, I liked the setup, I liked the explanations in the end. It just was everything that I wanted to study. I picked the 3-month pack, and I know people are like, well, you're only gonna study for a month, so why didn't the 3-month pack? But I really wanted the 2 assessments. I really kind of wanted to gauge how I did a little bit in the beginning of my studying, and then obviously a little bit before I take my test. So that's just what I wanted. But really, I had friends who did the 1 assessment, and that was totally fine. You just really go with what you want to do, what you can afford. It's really not that big of a difference whether you have 1 assessment or 2 assessments. You can just kind of gauge how you're doing on all the practice tests, and I know that's more than enough. You don't need 2 assessments to really know for sure, am I going to pass or am I going to fail this test? So definitely go by what you want with your studying. So a little bit about how I did UWorld, which is one of my first mistakes. And my first little bit of advice for you is, when I first started UWorld, I did it so that I did 75 daily practice quizzes, but I would do a mixture of all of the subjects that UWorld offered, which at first seemed this is great, I'll get through the questions faster. But if I could go back, I would not do it this way. I felt like it made it honestly even harder, because as you're reviewing these questions and writing down all your notes, you go from learning about pediatrics and the fundal height, and then you go into cardiovascular and arterial and venous disorders and diseases. So it bounced so much back and forth that I was all right, I'm not really taking in the information about this topic. I'm bouncing around too much. It was just super confusing. So if I could go back, I would do each subject 1 at a time. So I would finish all of adult health, I would finish all of pediatrics before moving on to the next following one, maternity health and everything else. So that is my first advice for you. I think once I started to do that, I felt a whole lot better about how I was doing on the test. And then once I finished a whole group of whatever it was, pediatrics, I honestly could say I felt super confident in that topic because I did all the questions, and a lot of it is similar and repetitive. So by the end of it, you're wow, okay, I really get it. And your scores really start to pick up as you keep doing more practice tests on that one subject. So that personally, I would highly suggest to do. I feel like I did it too late, but for anyone watching this, I would strongly suggest doing that if you are thinking about doing UWorld. So with the way that I had started, this is kind of where my anxiety and fears started to develop. I wasn't doing that well. in the practice test because I was doing it all jumbled and everything. So I started to have such low confidence. I felt like I definitely was not going to pass this test the way I was scoring, and I was just so fearful of failing. I didn't really study with friends, but we would talk about it. My friends were doing okay, and I was like, what is wrong with me? You start to think, what are you doing wrong, and what can I do better, and why are they doing better than me? And that is my second tip, is definitely try not to compare yourself to others. Me and my friends from nursing school studied so differently, and it worked for us, like the way that we had studied, and there's nothing wrong with you. There's just things that people can pick up faster, and like I said, I was studying in a way that I normally wouldn't study for in school, so that's where I messed up. And knowing your study method and the way you study and the way that you pick up information is something that you really should reflect on before you study, because if you're used to like flashcards and writing things out, like that is what is going to work best for you for this too. You shouldn't change your study methods for the NCLEX because it's going to hurt you. You stick to what you know, and that is where I messed up, because I was doing things in a way that I normally wouldn't, and one of those was mixing a ton of topics all at once when I know I work best mastering one topic before going on to the next. My test was July 29th. I'll never forget the date because it'll just stay engraved in my mind forever. So July 29th came, and I remember the week of, I had taken that first assessment, and when I finished, it had told me that, what did it say? It was something like kind of in the middle. They're not sure if you're gonna pass. You may pass, but you may not pass, kind of thing. So I was like, oh my god, like what does that even mean? And in that moment, I wish I would have just taken the test, but me in my head, I let myself just tell myself that I'm not gonna pass, and all my friends before me had taken it before I did, and they all had passed. And of course me, I got in my head all the fears, which is okay. I'm not saying that these are like things that you should be ashamed of, because you shouldn't be. You have to listen to your body and your mind, and you have to just figure out what is it that you need. And if you need some time, don't be afraid to figure out what you need for yourself, and don't force yourself to do anything because your friends or what you're seeing on the internet and everyone posting up their passing scores and everything. I know it could really get to your head, and at some point, like I really had to sign out of like my Instagram and Facebook because it mentally just wasn't helping me. And even though I was so happy for all my friends, I know that I needed to just like get away from everyone and figure out what I needed to do to pass this test for myself. And my friends understood that. My friends were always very understanding, and they were always like checking up on me and making sure if I needed help, like they were willing to help me, and they were all super, super nice. But what I'm saying is you shouldn't be ashamed of having these feelings of being afraid or fearful. I don't think people talk about it enough. The test is super scary. You never know when it's going to turn off. Like, I don't know who created this test, but not a nice person, because the test already, the way it's set up is just, it's unbelievable. Like, personally, that's what I believe. So when things weren't working out, I was like, I'm not going to take this test. I really was at a point, and I know it may sound dramatic, but this is just truly what happened in my experience. I just was so anxious. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, I was crying all the time, and this was all very new for me. So I was very like, what do I do? Like my family too was like, what happened? Like, why is this test taking such a toll on you? And they all were super supportive, trying to figure out like what is best and what we can do to help me, and how can we keep moving forward with this. So I didn't end up taking it July 29th. My family kind of sat me down, and like I said, super supportive, and they were right. They were telling me that even though this is an important test, and of course I need it to be a nurse and finally work as a nurse like I wanted all my life, but if I'm going to mentally and physically be broken and not take care of myself, not eat, and just cry all the time, I'm never going to be able to pass this test with how I'm doing now. Like, I need to take care of myself first before I can mentally take a test like this. And they were totally right. So as much as I hated this and I cried about it, I didn't take it July 29th, and I ended up just taking some time off. I took like a week or two off, and of course the anxiety goes away because you're like, all right, I don't have a testing date, and I was strictly just studying to study. And I think that, I know this is not going to work for everybody, but I feel like not having a test date set kind of helped because I didn't feel like I was having a ticking time bomb like in my head every day, like, okay, I have 4 days left, 3 days left. I felt it was so nice to just wake up and go to Starbucks or go to the library and just be like, okay, like, I'm just gonna do 75 questions today. Like, that is all I'm thinking about today, is that I'm completing 75 questions, then I get to go home and enjoy and, you know, do what I have to do for the day. And it did help. I felt like the less pressure really got me to study better without all the anxiety and the pressures. But I knew that the way that I was doing things wasn't going to be enough. So thought about, like, what is the best way that I study? How do I like to learn? And like I said, I've always been good in a school setting. So there is a chat on Facebook of people that I went to school with, and all the nursing students were talking about this one class that they took to help them pass the NCLEX, and it's like a 4-week class. You go twice a week, and in the end, like, a lot of them had positive results with passing the NCLEX. So at this point, like I said, I tried studying my way, I tried doing it, but it just wasn't working for me. So the class really was my last hope, but I was very hopeful about it. The classes were a little pricey, but at this point, I was willing to do whatever I needed to do to be a nurse and to finally get my license. I really wanted to be comfortable. I wanted to not be anxious about this test anymore. I just wanted to be confident in taking this test. So I took the classes, and they were super great. Like I said, 4 weeks, twice a week, and they give you a really good book. It was like this nice red book, and it just went through every single topic, just kind of like UWorld. Like, it was broken up by topics, all your lab values and things like that. And the best part about it is that I learned so many, like, mnemonics for things, and that really helped, like, really stick the information in my head. And there were certain times where I was like, oh, I know that because of this mnemonic, and it was pretty cool. And the people that were in the class were kind of in the same boat as I am. Some people were fresh out of school, some people were here because they had failed it the first time already, and, you know, were trying to find a different resource. And some people were like me, where studying at home wasn't working for them and they just needed something more. So it was super cool to be around people going through the same things as you. I think that was the best part about it, was that, you know, I really got to click and get to know all these people. So that was really nice. And the cool thing about it is that 2 of the girls that I had the class with actually work in the same hospital as, so I see them sometimes. And so you kind of make friends out of this at the same time, and, you know, now we all work together, which is even cooler. You know, it was a really good experience. I would show you the book, but I actually gave it to a friend who needed help. She was a semester behind me, so of course I gave it to her because it helped me and I no longer needed it. But after that, taking the 4 weeks, I definitely felt confident. There was still studying I needed to do, so after that I booked the test, I believe 2 weeks after taking that class. Another thing about the classroom is that their big thing was index cards. So, like, after every, like, certain topic or things to know, we did index cards, and some of them were like compare and contrast, like, you know, between hypo and hyperthyroidism, like things like that, so you kind of can see them like next to each other, understand the differences. So that was really nice too for those kind of diseases that are like opposite from each other. So with all the index cards that I had and all the studying tips and the books that I had, that's really what I used to study. I still had UWorld as well. Like I said, I had it for 3 months, so I kind of still had some time with it. And so I still continued to use UWorld as well. And once I finished studying a topic with my index cards and my book, you know, I would go back and do it with UWorld and do a test on that topic, and my scores like went up drastically. And I'm like smiling because I was so happy at that point. You know, this is just like what I wanted to feel like for the whole time. I just wanted to be confident. You know, I know you're not always going to be 100% confident and sure that you're going to pass, but it's nice feeling, you know, that confidence within yourself that you can do it and you're more than capable of passing this test, and no matter what is thrown at you, you can do it and you will do it. So this class really was worth it. I never really had thought about it, but I'm sure there really is classes that are offered all over. And so if that's something that will help you and it will help like your studying method, then I highly suggest it. I don't regret taking the class at all. The money that I spent on it, I would do it again, and probably even earlier. If I did know about it, I would do it right out of school, so I could have taken it earlier. But you know, everything happens for a reason, and I'm just glad that I had found the class and I took it, and it was the best thing ever. So now that I was feeling more confident and more capable of passing this exam, I was ready to take the test. And like I said, I had booked the appointment for 2 weeks after being done with my class. So leading up to the test, the day before, everyone says don't study, don't look at anything, just relax and relax. And I think that's easier to say than to be done. I'm not gonna say that I studied a lot, but I definitely couldn't do anything the day before. That would have driven me crazy. But I did book my test for the 8 a.m. one. I wanted to get it done early, so I did study the morning, I would say from like maybe 8 to like 11 a.m. and then I did take the rest of the day off, kind of. I'll explain. So from 8 to 11, I did what I normally do. I just did like a 75 question practice quiz of everything. I reviewed that. So leading up into the test, I would say the 3 days before the test, I was just doing that. I was just doing UWorld quizzes of all the subjects mixed together. At this point, I felt more confident in it, that I was able to do it all mixed together, and that's how the NCLEX works. So towards the end, you kind of really have to practice doing all of the topics mixed together, because that's what you're going to see when you sit down for the NCLEX. So I was doing that, a couple of days before my test. So that's all I did. Once I finished reviewing that, I didn't study. I guess I did, but I didn't take any questions anymore. What I did was, all the index cards that I had and all the notes that I had jotted down, I just would read over them. That's all I did. I had my index cards. I spent the day with family. I feel like you have to be around people who uplift you and are going to make you feel confident and just kind of distract you in a way. You're going to be nervous the day before. I think there's no way around it. I did go to bed early. I would say I went to bed around 10ish. I just had a cup of chamomile tea, just to keep me relaxed and keep my mind focused. And going to bed was hard. I think I was tossing and turning and things like that, but like I said, I think it's hard to just not be nervous at all. The morning came, and the day before I had packed a little backpack with just little knick-knack snacks. I had fruit snacks, some protein bars, water, just little snacks. I didn't think that I would be hungry during this test, but you really never know. And in the morning I just had a light breakfast, nothing too heavy. I'm not really a big breakfast person anyway, so I just had something small, some orange juice, and I went to the test. I wanted to be there early. The test center, I was lucky, really was I would say 8 minutes away from my house, but I was still nervous, so I went there early. So when you go in there, you're gonna go into the room, and before you enter the testing center with all the computers, you sign in, they get your ID, they get your handprint. It's through a scanner. I hope this is still how they do it. But with me, they had a little scanner, so this is kind of how I entered and exited the room if I had to go to the bathroom or if I needed to go into the locker where I kept my backpack and all the snacks. If I had to leave the testing center, I would do that handprint, and before going back into the testing center, I would do the same handprint, and I guess that's just their way of making sure that it's you and you didn't hire some kind of stunt double to take the test for you. And once you're in there, they assign you to a computer and you kind of just start right away. I started taking the test, and that was really it. Even with everything, I didn't pass the 75 questions, and for some reason I didn't think I would, but I wasn't discouraged about it. The biggest thing that they taught us in this class was, as long as you're still answering questions, you're in the game, you didn't fail, they're still giving you a shot, so just keep going, don't give up. Don't feel discouraged once past 75 comes on, because they're still asking you questions, so you're still in the game. So don't lose hope. Just keep going, keep focused. I know it's very easy to get discouraged during the test, but that would be your biggest mistake. Losing confidence in yourself and your abilities, definitely just keep focused. The question number doesn't matter at all. And I know that on the computer you could take away seeing what question number you're on. So I did do that for a little bit as well. But once I did see that I passed 75, like I said, I kind of felt like I wouldn't pass 75, so it wasn't a complete shock. I was hoping for 75, of course, everybody hopes for 75, but it didn't happen for me, and that's fine. And so I kept going, and once I had passed 150 questions, in my head I was like, okay, I may take this to 265, and that's fine, but I need a break. So I did go to the bathroom, and I just gave myself a little pep talk in the mirror before coming back that, I'm telling you, don't lose hope. I'm still answering questions, so it's better than not answering questions and feeling like I just totally bombed that. So I kind of just gave myself a little pep talk before going back in, and In the end, I stopped at 196 questions, random number. So it wasn't what I was expecting. I had mentally prepared myself for 265 at that point, but I stopped at 196. So, you know, anything really could have happened, and that is the biggest thing. You're always like, well, did I pass? Did I not pass? It really could have gone either way. Like, no matter where you stop, it really could be, you know, hey, like maybe they stopped me because I was doing well, or maybe they did stop me because I just was doing that bad and they were tired of giving me a chance. So there really is no way of knowing. So I left the test, and honestly, I just felt super numb. Like, people had asked me and I was like, I just felt numb. Like, I just felt like I wasn't in, I don't know, like I was somewhere else. I think I was just more excited to just go home, pick up my phone, and just knowing that I could go home and not have to answer questions anymore. I didn't have to like look at UWorld, didn't have to look at these index cards. I was over it. I was like, okay, I get to go home. I don't have to think about this test. I could do what I want. I could hang out with who I want with right now and just live my life for once. I remember my cousin was still over my house, so she actually had dropped me off at the test. So she came to pick me up, and we went to my favorite place to eat, and we had a really good meal. So that was probably the best thing. You know, treat yourself after this test, whether you think you failed or not. Like, go out there and celebrate. I know it feels weird to celebrate before you know, but the test will drain you, and I just feel like you should just not think about the test and just go out and do something that will make you happy and make you not think about what the hell just happened in that testing site. So 48 hours later it happened, and I did end up passing, and it was the best feeling in my entire life. I couldn't even tell you. I don't know why this test, you know, takes up so much of just how you feel about yourself and all your accomplishments, but it really does, because I felt on top of the world once I'd finished this goddamn test that had taken up mostly all my summer. But I did it, and like I said, you know, even when you feel like you can't do it, and all the days that I've cried and so anxious and, you know, made people feel like I was gonna lose it, I did get through it. And like I said, just focusing on myself and getting your mind and body together first, you know, really helped me. I stopped looking what other people were doing, and I needed to figure out what was best for me. So before I end this video, you know, my tips for the NCLEX and for anyone who is preparing to take the NCLEX, like I said, my number one tip is know your study method. You work best with writing things down, you know, watching videos of people teaching online, or going inside of a classroom like I did and being taught by an actual teacher. Definitely figure out how you want to learn and how you want to study and what's going to work best for you, and stick to that all the way through. You know, don't dibble dabble between different things. Just really figure out what works for you and stick with that all the way through. Another big thing is, like I said before, don't compare yourself to others. I know that you leave nursing school and you have your friends who are obviously taking the NCLEX as well, and you know, it's very easy to compare yourself to others when you're telling each other scores and finding out that your friends have already passed and you're still studying to take your test. It puts pressure on you, but everyone is so different from one another. Some people like don't even study at all for this test, which is crazy to me, and somehow pass. But you will pass it, and you will do it on your terms and on your own time. So don't get discouraged by what other people are doing. That will really take away from like all the hard work that you're putting in. My advice to you is don't forget to take mental breaks in between taking the test and reviewing. You need to take time to really recollect your thoughts and, you know, get your energy back. Sitting down and doing these questions and reviewing them, it gets so tiring. Trust me. Don't feel bad about walking away from the computer for a little bit, you know, getting a little snack, watching TV for 10 minutes, watching a YouTube video, but definitely step away when you can. Also, another thing, celebrate the small successes. I know it sounds weird, but when I started to do well on UWorld quizzes, I said I would treat myself to a meal that I liked, or I would watch a good movie after, or get some ice cream. You know, it sounds silly, but it really helps with the confidence. You have to celebrate the little things that are helping you get to your main goal, which is passing the NCLEX. And my biggest thing is your support system. I know some people think, oh, I'm not gonna need one, but there's gonna be days that it's gonna get to you, and you're gonna feel, like I said, like you can't do it, or this is too much, I'm never gonna finish. There's so many UWorld questions, and whatever your study method you're doing, you just feel like it's never ending. My support system was probably the main reason why I even got through this test. They were super supportive. They never gave up on me, never made me feel like I was annoying, for feeling anxious all the time, and for feeling like I just needed to cry some days. I really couldn't thank them enough for all of the time and effort that they put into me to just get me through this test. They really, really were the biggest thing for me. So definitely know who those people are that you can go to, whether it's family, friends, a loved one. And in the end, whether you pass the first time, the third time, it's all the same license. The jobs don't ask you how many times it took you to pass the NCLEX or how many months it took you to pass the NCLEX. They don't care. The license is all the same thing. You all will get a nursing job. It's all the same job. Just know that it doesn't matter how long it takes you to get to the end. No one cares about that. It just matters that you will get it in the end, and you will get the same license as everyone else who passed, whether 1 month, 3 months in, a year later, 5 times after passing it. So just know that you can do it. So that is all my tips and tricks for this video. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. I have a lot more videos coming up, nursing related and non-nursing related. So make sure that you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video.